Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Is something wrong with TFC? Is there something wrong with their league form as well? They haven't won a game this season, and with Real Salt Lake coming to town, you would feel like this was the perfect opportunity for them to get a result. Would they do it? How would they do it? Would they need their superstars to bail them out on the day? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, I'm going to briefly break down Real Salt Lake against Toronto FC. So TFC Real Salt Lake, would Real Salt Lake continue to cause TFC problems with their domestic form? TFC have yet to win a game this season. Real Salt Lake haven't looked great, but if there was an opportunity for TFC to win their first game, it was now at BMO Field. You look at the board, you got TFC in the red, you got Real Salt Lake in the blue, TFC going with a 4-4-2. They had Josie Altidore and Jovinko up front. On the flanks, they had Hasler and Osario. In midfield, they had Delgado and Bradley. Salt Lake in more of a 4-2-3-1 with Silva ahead of Rusnik. On the flanks, they had Savarino and Plata. In midfield, they had Beckerman and they had Kralak. What went right? What went wrong? Well, TFC initially struggled with their press. It's been a ploy that most teams have used to try and stop them from playing and looking to get an early lead. It did work here, but Real Salt Lake were unable to capitalize. We saw them pressing from the front. We saw the front four or the front three interchanging. We saw them pushing into those zones, and from there they really did struggle to break them down. When Bradley tried to drop deeper, you would see sometimes three come across, and they would just really bog down spaces in that aspect, and they were just really tough to, if anyhow, they would try to push to the center back, the pass would be blocked off, and then a midfielder would drop in. They found ways to stop Bradley from getting on the ball. However, that didn't last long, and what that meant was that TFC were able to eventually break forward. But TFC's shape was interesting because obviously we saw the variation of movement from Jovinko and Altidore. One plays high, one goes wide, one stays high, one drops deep, one stays high. What was key in the opening stages was because of the way that they were shaped and because Bradley was going forward and one was trying to press, there was a lot of space for Marky Delgado to get into. In the earlier stages of the match, we saw him charge into these spaces to get onto the ball and get into good areas. That was very pivotal in the game. Delgado was superb throughout, just playing passes, finding pockets of space, moving around the midfield zone. It was pretty vacant, and he was able to really just set the tempo of the game, ensure control, play tidy passes, and help TFC get forward. What was worrying for TFC was the fact that when they were pushing forward, and they did have a lot of the ball, RSL was very narrow throughout. The wing backs were positioned high, and there was always a fear that perhaps they could get picked off on the counterattack, but that didn't happen. RSL were poor throughout, not really offering much, and TFC really made them pay. The wider players in Osario and Hasler picked up narrow positions in these spaces to get on the ball. They were tidy in possession as well, and when they didn't have the ball, they would drop back into those narrow positions and press the fullbacks. They were very disciplined. They got into good positions as well. Not much of a goal threat, but that was key. And where TFC really got their chances were out wide in these half spaces. A lot of runs were made there. We saw Osario drift over and receive an overlapping ball there, dropping Beckerman and pulling it back for Hasler. We saw Altidore move into those positions. He did win the penalty from that position. But when you look at the goals again, it's the Jovinko-Altidore combination. TFC weren't that great throughout the game as a whole. They didn't cohesively play well, but they had different combinations and they relied on their big time players to get the job done. You look at the first goal, it's just Bradley stepping into a loose ball, playing in Jovinko. Altidore makes a superb run behind the defense, and the defender pulls him down. It's Jovinko playing it into him. Jovinko didn't step up to take a second consecutive penalty. He missed the first one against Nick Romando. Altidore scores the second one. And then you look at the second goal, and it's just a template as to where TFC were finding space. A lot of it was down this left side. We saw Osario occasionally drop into that area to get onto the ball when they didn't have the ball. We saw Morgan get forward in that position. We saw Jovinko drop in that position. There were lots of space for them to find in these holes, and finally they were made to pay. It was stemmed from Jovinko getting the ball. He had a marker on him, easily turned him. Everyone is shifting to the left. Morgan is able to get forward. And when you look at it, most players would play the ball into this wide area for Morgan to cross. Jovinko got it in right there. So Morgan was able to make that run from outside in, get onto the ball. He obviously cut in on his marker who was out of the play, but his touch was poor to cut it in. But Altidore was there to sweep up and fire a shot in. 2-0 TFC. They found spaces in the half spaces. They found spaces out wide on the left. Marky Delgado was very involved. The front two were combining and they were getting close with each other. That was pivotal. But TFC kind of dropped off in the second half. They lost a bit of that intensity, more of a narrow 4-4-2. They have a game midweek, so it's understandable. And when you look at it, again, just not much from RSL going forward. When we get them back into their base shape, they didn't really offer much forward. If it wasn't little intricate passes around the box, they couldn't really get in behind TFC. We saw Plata playing Silva one time, then get it back and fire a shot at Irwin, but they didn't offer much going forward. The front three interchange positions, not much on the counterattack, lots of skill, no execution in the final third, and they never really solved TFC. You had the wide players tucking in, offering that protection. The back four was pretty solid in that respect as well, not really tested. Neither Van der Wiel or Moore really tested. That was a great opportunity for Real Salt Lake to get at them. In the second half, the biggest key for TFC was Morgan getting forward. Crosses weren't that good, but we saw Jovinko and Altidore play him in twice down the left flank. First cross into Osario, doesn't get his shot on goal. The second one, obviously that led to an opportunity, but nothing came from it. TFC do give up a goal late on. It's from a more being dispossessed. They're trying to play out of the back in a game that was very tight and cagey and that they weren't really having control of because they were sitting a bit deeper later on, conserving energy and try to hold out for the win. Real Salt Lake got back into it, but again, TFC get a late goal down the line from Ricketts after Akeche hits the crossbar, and TFC were able to waltz away with the 3-1 victory. Very mediocre performance on the night, but they did exploit the wide spaces. They did dominate the central areas with their wide players coming in. And their wing backs or fullbacks getting forward. Jovinko was key on the night. Although he missed a penalty shot, he created the chances, and Altidore's execution around the box was pivotal. And sometimes that's what you need from your big players to get your season rolling. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.